material characteristics of Harappan civilization है ना. Objectives. This unit deals with the geographical extent and material features of the Harappan civilization. It describes the main sites of Harappan civilization as well as the material remains which characterize these sites. After reading this unit, you should be able to understand that there was continuity of population and material traditions between the early Harappan and Harappan civilization. Know about the geographical and climatic aspects of the settlement pattern of Harappan civilization. Describe the specific geographical, climatic, and subsistence-related characteristics of the important centers of Harappan civilization. Learn about the material features of the important Harappan sites and especially the informatives in the material features of these sites. Introduction. In this unit, we discuss the geographical spread and material characteristics of the Harappan civilization, which arose on the foundation of pastoral and agricultural communities and small townships. It refers to the continuity of the population and material traditions between early Harappan and Harappan civilization. The geographical spread of Harappan civilization, with special reference to some important centers, has been highlighted. It attempts to familiarize you with the town planning, important structures, art and craft, house patterns, potteries, tools, and implements, subsistence patterns and script of Harappan civilization. Finally, this unit also brings out the informatives in the material characteristics of the Harappan sites, from villages to towns and cities. In unit number 5, we have seen how pastoral, nomadic, and agricultural communities established themselves in the Indus plain and how some small townships having contact with faraway lands had also come into existence. On the foundation of these agricultural communities and small townships emerged the Harappan civilization. By the term Harappan civilization, we mean that the Harappan society was characterized by the presence and domination of large cities in this phase of its history. This would also mean the presence of specialized craftsmen, long-distance trade, the existence of the rich and poor people, and the presence of kings. Apart from these general features common to all the civilizations, there were some particular features of the Harappan civilization. In the geographical space where the remains of the Harappan civilization have been found, the communities were using the same script. A Harappan community, whether it was staying in Rajasthan or Punjab or Sindh, would be using the same sets of weights and measures. The copper bronze tools used by them were also uniform in design, shape and size. The bricks they used had a proportion 4:2:1. Some of their towns were also characterized by uniformities in the planning of the buildings, citadels, etc. The seals, shell, that is shank bangles, carnelian beds, and the disc beds of the steatite were also uniformly designed in the entire geographical space covered by the cities of the Harappan civilization. Most of the time, a Harappan site is identified by the use of a pinkish pottery with bright red slip. This pottery had standard representation of trees, animals, birds, and geometric motifs in black. These uniformities in the material features of the Harappan sites were the characteristic trait of Harappan civilization. Harappan civilization sources. The information about the Harappan civilization comes from the reports of the excavations at places like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. The excavations at Harappa began in 1921. Very many Harappan settlements have been located and excavated since then. Famed archaeologists like Sir John Marshall and Sir Mortimer Wheeler have conducted excavations at Harappan settlements. These scholars, by carefully studying the material remains, have made the relics of the past speak. Since we cannot read the written records, we have to draw conclusions on the basis of the study of the artifacts used by the Harappan people. By now, more than 1,000 settlements bearing Harappan materials have been discovered. However, most of these settlements have not been excavated. According to one estimate, only 3% of the reported Harappan settlements have been excavated. Even at sites where excavations work has been carried out, not more than 1/5 area has been excavated. Some sites like Ganveri Wala in the Hakra Valley and Furuxlan in Punjab, which are reported to be nearly as large as Mohenjo-daro, have not even been touched by excavators. This is because excavation involves a very large investment of money and manpower. At present, the governments of India and Pakistan do not have sufficient money to fund these excavations. However, one thing is clear. It is that when we are making generalizations about the Harappan civilization, we have to be extremely cautious. Any new discovery or excavation report can substantially modify our views about the Harappans. For example, scholars like Mortimer Wheeler, who wrote nearly 20 years ago, believed that the Harappan civilization appeared fully developed in the Indus Valley, and it had little in common with the people who lived in these areas in the preceding period. However, a careful analysis of the available materials and the new excavation reports have convinced archaeologists that the Harappan civilization developed over a long period of time in and around the Indus Valley region itself. We have studied the developments of the early Harappan period in the preceding unit. We find that there was a continuity of population and technical skill between the early Harappan and the Harappan periods. A process of evolution was evident in the agricultural settlements, and basic crafts and the distinct Indus style itself were probably carried over from earlier regional traditions. Since the study of Harappan civilization remains in many respects incomplete, therefore it is one of the most challenging fields of study for students of ancient Indian history. Geographical spread. Scholars generally believe that Harappa, Ghaggar, Mohenjo-daro axis represents the heartland of the Harappan civilization. Most of the Harappan settlements are located in this region. This area is characterized by certain uniformities. The entire zone is a flat stretch of land having similar subsistence pattern. Snow melt from the Himalayas and the monsoon rains define its flooding pattern. This would create similar kinds of possibilities of agriculture and pastoralism. The Kutchi Plains to the west of the Indus system is in the transitional zone of the Iranian borderlands. It is a flat alluvial outwash located at the foot of the Bolam Pass and the Lake Manchar. It is an inhospitable country, and except for its periphery is completely dry. Slides like Nausharo, Jidir-Judaro and Ali Murad have been reported from this area. The settlements of Sutka-Go and Sutka-Gendor on the Makran coast represent the driest part of the hilly Baluchistan region. They are the known western boundaries of the Hadappans. The Harappan settlements at Shautugai in northeastern Afghanistan seems to have been isolated colonies of the Hadappans. The eastern borderlands of the Harappan civilization are represented by such settlements as Bargaon, Manpur and Alamgirpur in UP. The subsistence system of these sites, located in the Ganga-Yamuna Doab, was in conformity to their geographical location. This area had higher rainfall and denser forests. It falls outside the zone of pastoral nomadism and falls in the wheat producing area. Therefore, it would pose different kinds of problems of settlement. This is why some scholars believe that this area represents an independent cultural province receiving stimulus from the Hadappans. Mand in Jammu and Ropar in Punjab represent the northern extremities of the Hadappans in India. The settlements of Daimabad in Maharashtra and Bhagat Rao in Gujarat might have formed the southern frontier of the Hadappans. In Gujarat too, the settlement pattern was not uniform. There were small dissected plateaus and scraplands in Kutch and Kathiawar. On the other hand, this area had a large sea coast in the Gulf of Cambay and the Run of Kutch. The Hadappans in the Gujarat were familiar with rice and millet. The Harappan civilization seems to have covered a very large area. Its area was larger than those of the contemporary civilization of Mesopotamia and Egypt. In Mesopotamia, settlements were spread out all across the riverine plains in dense clusters. However, except in the Ghaggar-Hakra region, the Harappan settlements were very thinly spread out. Sites in Rajasthan and Gujarat could be divided by hundreds of kilometers of desert and marshes. The nearest Harappan neighbor of Shautugai would be about 300 km away. These vacant spaces might have been inhabited by primitive communities who were still surviving by hunting, gathering, or by pastoral nomadism. Similarly, we get some idea of the size of population that lived in any of the Harappan cities from the studies conducted in this field. Scholars believed that the largest Harappan city, that is Mohenjo-daro, had a population of about 35,000. The smallest towns of modern India would have a larger population than the biggest towns of the Hadappans. We have to remember that in the Harappan period, the fastest means of transport was bullock cart. Iron was unknown, and the use of plough was considered a revolutionary discovery. With such primitive technology, a civilization which managed to bring together far-flung areas in a complex web of socio-economic relationship was a stunning achievement in those days. Important centers. One might ask why the Hadappans tried to occupy such faraway places as Shautugai in Afghanistan or Sukhothara in Gujarat. We may find the answer to this question if we try to examine the details of the location and characteristics of some important sites. Harappa. Harappa was the first site to be excavated. From the 1920s onward, archaeologists like Dayaram Sahni, M.S. Vats, and Mortimer Wheeler carried out excavations at Harappa. It is located on the bank of Ravi in the western Punjab. In terms of its size and variety of objects discovered, it ranks as the premier city of the Harappan civilization. The ruins of the city cover a circuit of about 3 miles. What is intriguing, however, is the fact that there are no clusters of sites around Harappa. In Harappa, a substantial section of the population was engaged in activities other than food production. These activities could lead to administration, trade, craft work, or religion. Since these people were not producing food for themselves, someone else would have to do it for them. Productivity was low and transportation was quite difficult. Thus, for maintaining these non-food producers, the community would have to mobilize a very large number of people for procuring and transporting food from the food producing areas. However, these areas would not have been very far from the city because transportation of grains was done by bullock carts and boats. Some scholars have suggested that the surrounding villages might have been engaged in the shifting cultivation in the meander flood plains of the rivers. Villages had to keep shifting according to the changes in the flood plains of the rivers. The location of Harappa in isolation can be explained by the fact that it was located in the midst of some important trade routes which are still in use. These routes connected Harappa with Central Asia, Afghanistan and Jammu. Harappa's preeminent position was linked to its ability to procure exotic items from faraway lands. Mohenjo-daro. Mohenjo-daro, located in the Ladkana district of Sindh on the bank of the river Indus, is the largest site of the Harappan civilization. Most of the information regarding the town planning, housings, seals and ceilings of the civilization come from the Mohenjo-daro. Excavations began at the site in 1922 with R.D. Banerjee, Sir John Marshall taking up the work. Later on, Mackey and George Dales also conducted excavations. Small-scale excavations and plotting of the site have continued into the 80s. Excavations show that people lived here for a very long time and went on building and rebuilding houses at the same location. As a result of this, the height of the remains of the building and the debris is about 75 feet. Ever since the time of occupation, there were regular floods at Mohenjo-daro. These floods caused deposition of alluvial soil. The continuous deposition of silt over the centuries has raised the level of the land around Mohenjo-daro by about 30 feet. The groundwater table has risen correspondingly. Thus, the oldest building in Mohenjo-daro have been found to be about 39 feet below the level of the modern level at the plain. Archaeologists have not been able to excavate these levels because of the rise in the water table. Kalibangan. The settlement of Kalibangan is located in Rajasthan along the dried up bed of the river Ghaggar. As pointed out earlier, this area had the largest concentration of the Harappan settlements. Kalibangan was excavated in the 1960s under the guidance of B.K. Thapad. This place has yielded evidence for the existence of the pre-Harappan and the Harappan habitations. It shows a significant variation from Harappan in the sphere of religious beliefs. Some scholars have suggested that Kalibangan might have been part of the eastern domain of the Harappan civilization. In the areas of present-day Haryana, East Punjab and Western UP, Harappan sites like Bada, Siswal and Alamgirpur have been discovered. They give evidence of the presence of distinct local traditions in pottery along with Harappan pottery. Kalibangan might have been a mediator between the Harappan cultural zone and the eastern provinces. Lothal. In Gujarat, settlements such as Rangpur, Surkodara and Lothal have been discovered. Lothal is located in the coastal flats of the Gulf of Cambay. This place seems to have seen an outpost for sea trade with contemporary West Asian society. Its excavator S.R. Rao claims to have discovered a dockyard here. Sutka Gendor. Sutka Gendor is located near the Makran coast, which is close to the Pakistan-Iran border. At present, the settlement is landlocked in dry, inhospitable plains. The town had a citadel surrounded by a stone wall built for defense. Its location in an inhospitable area can only be explained by the need of seaport for trading. Material characteristics. In this section, we discuss the material characteristics of the Harappan civilization. We take into account the town planning, pottery, tools and implements, arts and crafts, scripts and subsistence pattern of the Harappan civilization. Town planning. Archaeologists like the Mortimer Wheeler and Stuart Piggott believed that the Harappan towns had a remarkable unity of conception. This was suggested by the division of each town into two parts. In one part was a raised citadel where the rulers were staying. In the other part of the town lived the ruled and the poor. This unit of planning would also mean that if you were walking on the streets of Harappa, the houses, the temples, the granaries, and the streets themselves will be almost identical to those of Mohenjo-daro or any other Harappan town for that matter. The idea of idea of unity of conception was derived from the notion of a community of foreigners suddenly conquering the Indus Valley and building new towns. Such towns were designed to separate the natives from the rulers. Thus, the rulers built citadels which kept them in glorious isolation. Such ideas of the sudden emergence of the Harappan towns and the unity of the planning are being increasingly rejected by the new scholars. The Harappan towns were located on the floodplains of the rivers, on fringes of deserts, or on the seacoast. This meant that people living in these different regions faced different kinds of challenges from nature. Their adaptation to environment would introduce diversity in their town planning and lifestyle too. Also, many large and seemingly important buildings were located in the lower city. Let us review the planning of some of the important settlements. The settlements of Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and Kalibangan show certain uniformities in their planning. These cities were divided into a citadel on the west side and a lower town on the eastern side of the settlement. The citadel was built on a high podium of mud brick. The citadel seems to have contained large structures which might have functioned as administrative or ritual centers. The lower city contained residential areas. In Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, the citadel was surrounded by a brick wall. At Kalibangan, both the citadel and the lower city were surrounded by a wall. Streets ran from north to south in the lower city and cut at right angles. Obviously, this kind of alignment of streets and houses represents conscious town planning. However, the resources of the town planners in those days would be very limited. This assumption is based on the finds from Mohenjo-daro and Kalibangan, where the streets stagger from block to block, and the alignments of the streets and buildings in one part of Mohenjo-daro, that is in Moinir area, is quite different from the rest of the areas. Mohenjo-daro was not constructed in homogeneous horizontal units. In fact, it was built in different times. In Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, baked bricks were used for buildings. In Kalibangan, mud bricks were used. In settlements like Kot Diji and Amri in Sindh, there was no fortification of the city. The site of Lothal in Gujarat also shows a very different layout. It was a rectangular settlement surrounded by a brick wall. Lothal did not have any internal division into citadel and lower city. Along the eastern side of the town was found a brick basin which has been identified as a dockyard by its excavator. The site of Surkotada in Kutch in Gujarat was divided into two equal parts, and the building materials were basically mud bricks and lumps of mud. Harappans were using baked and unbaked bricks of standard size. This shows that it was not the individual house owners who made their own bricks, but that brick making was organized on a large scale. Similarly, cities like Mohenjo-daro showed excellent arrangements for sanitation. The wastewater from houses would pass through chutes connected with public drains aligned to the margins of the streets. This again indicates the presence of a civic administration which would take decisions for the sanitary requirements of all the townsmen. Some large structures in Harappa, Mohenjo-daro and Kalibangan, the citadel areas contained monumental structures which must have had special functions. This is clear from the fact that they stood on a high mud brick platform. Among these structures is the famous Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro. This brick built structure measures 12 meter by 7 meter and is about 3 meter deep. It is approached at either end by flights of steps. The bed of the bath was made watertight by the use of bitumen. Water was supplied by a large well in an adjacent room. There was corbelled drain for disgorging water too. The bath was surrounded by porticos and sets of rooms. Scholars generally believe that the place was used for ritual bathing of kings or priests. Another important structure discovered in the citadel mound of Mohenjo-daro is the granary. It consists of 27 blocks of brickwork crisscrossed by ventilation channels. Below the granary were the brick loading bays from which grains were raised into the citadel for storage. Though some scholars have questioned the identification of this structure with the granary, but it is certain that this last structure must have had some important function. To another side of the Great Bath is a long building, 230 by 78 feet, which has been identified as the residence of a very high official. It includes an open court of 33 feet square onto which 3 verandas open. Another significant building was an assembly hall. It had 4 rows of 5 brick plinths upon which wooden columns were erected. In a row of rooms to the west of it was found a seated male statue. Among the well-known buildings of Harappa is the Great Granary. It consisted of a series of brick platforms forming the base of 2 rows of 6 granaries. To the south of the granary were found rows of circular brick platforms. That they were used for thrashing grains is clear from the fact that chaffs of wheat and barley were found in the crevices of the floors. Kalibangan was a smaller city compared to Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. The most significant discoveries here have been those of fire altars. A series of brick platforms were discovered. On one of them was found a row of 7 fire altars as well as pit containing animal bones and antlers. Housing pattern. The average size seems to have lived in the blocks of houses in the lower city. Here too, there were variations in the sizes of houses. It could be single room tenements meant for slaves like the ones discovered near the granary in Harappa. There were other houses complete with courtyards and having up to 12 rooms. The bigger houses were provided with private wells and toilets. These houses had much the same plan, a square courtyard around which were a number of rooms. The entrances to the houses were from the narrow lanes which cut the streets at right angles. No windows faced the street. This meant that the roadward facing of the house would be like a row of brick walls. The description of the houses in the townships of the Harappan civilization indicates that there were people who owned large houses. Some of them bathed in an exclusive swimming pool, that is the Great Bath. There were others who lived in barracks. One can say with certainty that those who lived in larger houses belonged to the rich class, whereas those living in the barracks might have been part of a servile class of laborers. The houses in the lower city also contained a large number of workshops. Potter kilns, dyer vats, and shops of metal workers, shell ornament makers, and bed makers have been recognized. Pottery. Among the remains discovered in the Harappan settlements, pottery forms an important category. It represents the blending of the ceramic traditions of Balochistan and the cultures east of the Indus system. Most of the Harappan pottery is plain, but a substantial part is treated with a red slip and black painted decoration. The painted decorations consisted of horizontal lines of varied thickness, leaf patterns, scales, checkers, lattice work, palm and peepal trees. Birds, fishes and animals are also shown. Among the notable shapes found in the Harappan pottery are pedestal, dishes, goblets, cylindrical vessels perforated all over and various kinds of balls. The uniformity in the forms and paintings of the pottery is difficult to explain. Normally, the explanation of this uniformity is the fact that the local potters made the pottery. But in areas like Gujarat and Rajasthan, a variety of other kinds of potteries continue to be produced along with the Harappan pottery. Some of the pottery has shown marks of stamp which might indicate that a few varieties of vessels were traded also. However, it is still unclear how such a large area exhibited a uniform pottery tradition. Tools and implements. The tools and implements used by the Harappans also show a striking degree of uniformity in design and in techniques of production. They were using tools made of copper, bronze and stone. The basic tools types were flat axe, chisels, knives, spearheads and arrowheads for the copper and bronze implements. In the later stages of the civilization, they were also using daggers, knives and flat tongues. They were familiar with the techniques of casting bronze and copper. Stone tools were also in common use. They were produced on a large scale in factory sites like Sukkur in Sindh and then sent to various urban centers. Only this could explain the uniformity in the tool types. Unlike the early Harappan period, when there were various tool making traditions, the mature Harappan period, when there were various tool, unlike the the early Harappan period, when there were various tool making traditions, the mature Harappans concentrated on making long regular blades. Long regular blades. They indicate a high level of competence and specialization with little or no concern for beauty and innovation. Arts and crafts. Works of art give us an insight into how the society relates itself to its surroundings. They also give us an idea of how it views nature, human beings, and divinity. In pre modern societies, it is difficult to separate arts and crafts. That is why we shall study them together. Probably the most famous art piece from the Harappan civilization is the bronze dancing nude figure discovered in Mohenjo-daro. With head drawn backwards, drooping eyes, and the right arm on the hip and the left arm hanging down, the figure is in the dancing stance. She is wearing a large number of bangles and her hair is plaited in an elaborate fashion. It is considered a masterpiece of the Harappan art. In the bronze figurines of a buffalo and a ram have beautifully caught the stance of the animals. The two little toy carts of bronze are also fairly well known objects. Although one was discovered in Harappa and the other at Charnodar, a distance of over 650 km, they are identical in design. The stone sculpture of a bearded head found in Mohenjo-daro is another well known piece of art. The face is bearded with the upper lip shaped. The half closed eyes might indicate a state of meditation. Across the left shoulder is a cloak carved in relief with a trefoil pattern. Some scholars believe that it is the bust of a priest. Two small male torsos discovered in Harappa are sometimes believed to have belonged to later periods. The refined and wonderfully realistic modeling of the fleshy parts is extraordinary. However, the Harappans do not seem to have used stone or bronze for their artistic creation on large scale. The findings of such works are rare. Terracotta figurines have been found in large numbers from the Harappan settlements. They were used as toys or cult figures. A variety of birds and monkeys, dogs, sheep, and cattle are represented in these forms, along with humped and humpless bulls. A large number of male and female figurines have also been found. Various models of terracotta carts are remarkable for the vivacity of modeling. These models show that the bullock carts used in those times are ancestors of the actual bullock carts used in modern times. The Harappans used remarkably beautiful beds made of such precious and semi-precious stones such as agate, turquoise, cornelian, and steatite. The processes of making these beds are clear from the finds of a workshop in Charnodaro. In these processes, the stone was first sawn into an oblong bar, then flaked into a cylindrical shaped and polished. Finally, it was bored either with chert drills or with bronze tubular drills. Gold and silver beds have also been found. The commonest material used for making beds was steatite. The barrel-shaped beds with trefoil pattern are typically associated with the Harappan culture. Carnelian beds are also quite common. In Mohenjo-daro was also discovered a hoard of jewelry consisting of gold beds, fillets, and other ornaments. Small dishes of silver too have been found. More than 2,000 seals have been found from the Harappan settlements. They are considered the outstanding contribution of the Indus civilization to ancient craftsmanship. They were generally square in shape and made of steatite, but some round seals have also been found. The designs on the seals include a wide range of animals associated with groups of signs in a semi-pictographic script. Some seals have only scripts carved on them, and some others bear human and semi-human forms. Some seals show the use of various kinds of geometric patterns. The animal motifs used are the Indian bison, the Brahmani bull, rhinoceros, tiger, and elephant. A series of composite animals are also shown. One such recurrent representation is that of a face of a man with the trunk and tusks of an elephant, the horn of bull, the forepart of a ram, and the hind quarters of a tiger. These kinds of seals might have been used for religious purposes. Seals could have also been used for exchange of goods between distant cities. The seal of a horned deity sitting in a yoga posture and surrounded by animals has been identified with the god Pashupati. The artworks of the Harappans leave us a little disappointed on two counts. The finds are very limited in number, and they do not seem to have the variety of expression seen in the contemporary civilizations of Egypt and Mesopotamia. Stone sculptures was rare and undeveloped compared to those fashioned by the Egyptians. The terracotta pieces also cannot compare with those of Mesopotamia in quality. It is possible that the Hadappans were using less durable medium like textile designs and paintings for their artistic expression, which have not survived. The Indus script. The seals used by the Hadappans carried some form of writing. This script is still a mystery to us because we cannot read it. So far, the other forgotten scripts, like those of ancient Egypt, could be read again because scholars found some inscriptions written in the forgotten script followed by some of its forms in a known script. We have not discovered any bilingual inscription in Harappa so far. Thus, we do not know what language the Hadappans spoke and what they wrote. Unfortunately, the Hadappans discovered so far are short, usually engraved on seals. This makes the task of decipherment all the more difficult. All we know is that they used ideograms and wrote from right to left. However, scholars are still struggling to unveil the mystery of the script. Once this is done, it might reveal much more about the civilization. Subsistence pattern. The Hadappans' urbanism was based on agricultural production. During various excavations, a large volume of information has emerged about the dietary habits of the Hadappans. Apart from sheep and goat, humped cattle seems to have been domesticated. Bones of boars, buffaloes, elephants, and camel have also been found from many settlements. We do not know as yet whether these animals had been domesticated or hunted wild. However, a representation of a caparisoned elephant on some seals indicates that this animal had been domesticated. Bones of fowls have also been found. Possibly, they had been domesticated. Bones of a large number of wild animals have been found. Among them are the bones of deer, rhinoceros, tortoise, etc. Horse seems to have been unknown to the Hadappans. Two varieties of wheat are frequently found in Hadappan sites. Barley has been frequently found. Other crops include dates and a variety of leguminous plants such as peas. Besides these, mustard and sesame were also grown. At Lothal and Rangpur, rice husk was found embedded in clay and pottery. We do not as yet know whether they represented a variety of wild rice or rice domesticated and regularly cultivated. India has traditionally been famous for its cotton cloths. At Mohenjo-daro was found a fragment of a cotton cloth. This indicates that the Hadappans had already mastered the art of growing cotton and weaving cloth. The evidence of a furrowed field in Kalibangan indicates that the Hadappans were using some sort of wooden plug. The patterns of crossed furrows widely spaced in one direction and closely spaced in another is still followed in this area. The modern cultivator furrows his field in this pattern for sowing horse gram or sesame in one direction and mustard in another. This was probably true of Hadappans also. Thus, we find the Hadappan subsistence system was based on the exploitation of a fairly wide range of crops, domesticated animals, and wild animals. This variety would account for the strength of the subsistence system. They were probably already growing 2 crops annually. They also grew 2 or more kinds of crops simultaneously. This provided the strength to the economy to support the large population which lived in the cities and did not produce its own food. Let us sum up. In this unit, you have studied about the geographical location and material characteristics of the Hadappan sites. The uniformities in the geographical characteristics create a similar subsistence pattern in the Hadappa, Mohenjo-daro and Ghaggar axis. However, there were other sites where the settlement pattern varies in accordance with the varying geographical features of these sites. The town planning of the Hadappans was extremely efficient. The houses and the drainage system of the Hadappan towns is indicative of the remarkable material achievements of the Hadappans. Generally, the Hadappan pottery, tools and implements show a uniformity of tradition. The seals and beds of the Hadappans are beautiful works of craftsmanship, but the stone sculpture and terracotta figures cannot compete with those of the contemporary Egypt and Mesopotamia in technical excellence. The subsistence system of the Hadappans was based on the cultivation The subsistence system of the Hadappans was based on the cultivation of a number of crops and domestication of animals. This gave strength to the economy to sustain the city population, which did not produce its own food, which had to be transported from nearby areas.